guys, it's Heather at Homeschool Culture. In today's video, I'm going to show you what we're doing for our family subjects. We just call it morning basket, and we actually do it in the morning. Sometimes in the past, we've changed or alternated times depending on my husband's work schedule, but for now, mornings work for us. We wake up at 7, I get coffee, my oldest gets coffee, and we sit down and we start with a Bible study. I'm going to show you right quick what we use. I already kind of took a pre-video of what we use to hold all of our morning baskets. So I'm going to show you this right now, this part of the clip. If you see, I have this black cart that I got at IKEA, and the top is where most of the books are. The middle is where I have some games, pens, pencils, things like that. And then at the bottom is, it looks like 2 more games. Okay, so that is how I store everything, and I just keep it here in the dining room. We've done it in the homeschool room. We've done it in the living room, in the dining room, in our little, what I call a homeschool nook, which is connected to the living room. I feel like we do better when we're at a table like this, like at a dining table. And I've moved my dining table all over the house. Anyways, and so it is back in the dining room officially. So as of right now, I plan on starting our homeschool, like family studies, in here every morning. I was doing it in the living room. The only problem with that is sometimes sleepy kids, especially my teenagers, it's just hard for them to get up and get focused. So I'd rather start it here, everybody sitting upright, etc. That's just what works for us. And so that is what we're going to be continuing to do. Go ahead and bypass this next part if you've been doing morning basket for a long time or family subjects and you just kind of want to see what I'm using. I just want to talk for a quick second on the benefits of family subjects. I have a early middle schooler and a late high schooler this year. So like 6th grade, 11th grade. Age difference is about 4 years. When they were younger, we could do more things together, like history, etc., etc. Once my high schooler got into high school, it was easier to kind of just separate like the history. But doing physical geography, doing Bible, art study, kind of some of those extra things that you want to add in that aren't necessarily the core subjects, I think works great for family subjects. If you're new to homeschool and you've got, let's say you've got, well, even if you have only 2 kids, but 2, 4, 6, more than that, you can truly get so much of their curriculum done together as a group. If I had 5 or 6 kids, I would probably even do more things. I would just add on maybe to the higher level kids, if they needed to do a little bit more for credits and things like that. But honestly, you can do so much as a family. And that is why I love it, because we get to interact, we get to have conversation, you get to have perspectives from multiple kids, and it's just, I love it. I love doing it. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in. I think I'm going to jump in with artist study. So we started artist study back pretty much from the beginning of kind of following a Charlotte Mason. I am eclectic, just so throwing that out there. I am an eclectic homeschooler, but I do really, really like Charlotte Mason's methods. I like a lot of the things she incorporates, and I really like classical for some parts of my kids' education, and I really sometimes just fall back on traditional things. It just really depends. But for family subjects, the artist study, I'm not saying I do it, I'm not a purist when it comes to Charlotte Mason, but I do try to pick 3 different artists, 1 per each term, and we discuss that artist around once a week. We look at various art from that artist, etc. And I've done it in the past where I've gotten like Charlotte Mason's art study, which is really, really beneficial, especially if you're new to homeschooling, or if that's just, maybe you've done it and you loved it. And I did love it, but I just kind of got bored. You'll find on this channel, for me, I get bored doing the same thing year after year. So I always like to change it up. Okay, and a lot of artists we've done, a few of them, well, one of them we're going back to, and that's Leonardo da Vinci, and that's because my daughter requested it. This is actually in a different language. I think it's actually in Italian, but it's something that I picked up years ago, but it's got beautiful artwork. So this is something that I can open up and we can still discuss the various artwork. And it's gorgeous. And so what I do for this is, because I might not know exactly, it does tell us at the bottom in Italian what it is, but all I have to do is use Google Lens. I'll take a picture of it, use Google Lens, type in painting info, and it will bring up information on it. Another thing I like to do to kind of get information on the artists at the beginning of each term is YouTube. So I will go through and I'll look at different YouTube channels, and I can't really pinpoint a specific channel. I kind of wish there was one. If you know of one that's like the best channel for discussing artists, I would love to know that down in the comments. But I just kind of go and I pick and choose maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and it might be something that we watch during morning basket, or it might be something that we watch during lunch, and it gives us the information. That would be like the initial introduction to that artist. And then we would go and we would discuss specific art. And then I might even, keep this like on an easel opened up for the week so that they can go back to it. We can go back to it every day. And so I'd probably keep that like in the homeschool nook, or even somewhere back here, maybe in the dining room. I haven't decided on that yet. And anyways, it's just a fun way to learn about it. I plan on doing Leonardo. I plan on doing Turner the second semester. I don't have a book for that yet. I'm going to see if there's one at the library, and then I love going to eBay and trying to find cheaper books there that maybe just has a bunch of different ones. If not, I'll go to the library and I'll rent a book, or I'll buy one off of eBay. I haven't got to that point yet just because it's many months out, and I just did a bunch of big purchases. So I'm trying to like, not buy everything at one time. Anyways, another thing is you can get pictures off of the internet, put them on like a flash drive, and you can like do a rolling loop on your TV. So like when no one's using the TV, but it's kind of like a background, you can do the same thing on your computer. So it's something that the kids are constantly seeing as they walk by. So that's just something to think about, just another way to kind of get those paintings visible to them at all times if you did not want to spend the extra money for the artist study. I will say this. I want to say, and tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, and if I'll look at it. I think it's called Riverside Press, has pretty good prices for their picture study. I think it's like $8 maybe. And I've been going back and forth if I wanted to do it, but I ended up, I was like, you know what, I have resources. I'm just going to save some money. So I decided not to. But something else I do like to have like a book like this, which is just great painters. I don't necessarily always use it, but what I do like about it is finding artists. So it's kind of like a resource. So, okay, who do I want to, what artist do I want to study this year with the kids? And this gives me a place to go and look. And so I used this one to get my third. So I said Leonardo da Vinci the first term, Turner the second, and the third, his name is Alfred Sisley, Sisley. And he has really beautiful paintings. Well, you can't really see it right now. But one thing it does do is it breaks up like these are the Impressionist. And so he is an Impressionist painter. And so I'm sure you can't see that, but I went and obviously I researched it ahead of time, and he has gorgeous paintings. And so I thought that'd be fun to learn about him and his paintings. One thing that I do have, and this will be for the first semester, they don't have these obviously for every artist, but the Dover coloring book, you don't really find, I don't think you can find it on Amazon. I think you have to go to like thrift books and what's the other one? eBay, things like that. But they're stained glass, and so you can go in and you can color. And we had one for Van Gogh, what we did last year, and the kids loved it. So as we're learning about the different paintings, they can keep hands busy. And we used these junior artist oil pastels. That's what we used to color with last year. Okay, so that was the artist study. Sorry if it was a little long on that one. I try not to. In the beginning, I got everything from like the Simply Charlotte Mason, all of those, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But again, I get bored, and then I don't want to spend extra money when I already have a few books or whatever, or I can get something from the library. So it's just a way to kind of save money and maybe try something different. Okay, the next thing is, I don't know what to call this section. I guess you can call it just like the read aloud. We're going to start every day. Well, we'll start every day with prayer and Bible, but after Bible, we will do this Earth Almanac. I showed it in one of my hauls videos, and pretty much every day has knowledge that you're giving the kids. Maybe it sparks interest for them to go research more, things like that. So like May 28th, it talks about the spark bird. September 4th, native thistle. September 3rd, underground owls. And so we just read through these each day. They're not very long. And I'll probably rotate between my son and my daughter. It just, again, gives them opportunity to read aloud, which I think is beneficial. And it's just something fun. Again, just little tidbits of information just to kind of read together. Okay, one thing I love to do is to bring in things from their core subjects that might be something that I don't necessarily have time to do during that, or I feel like it maybe will get pushed aside, but I really want to get to it. And so one thing that my son is doing this year is he's doing a history of explorers. So instead of being more of a time period, which it does fall into a time period, but we're starting all the way back with the Phoenicians and going all the way until present time, and doing as much as we can within that year. And so I found this Fandex a while back, and I thought it would be fun just to kind of start and read, like here's the Phoenicians, and just read this little blurb of information, and we can discuss it. If once we get into, you know, further along in the year, you know, it will bring prior knowledge of things that he maybe has already read, and we can just discuss it further, things that my daughter's already learned about, things like that. So I just think it'd be fun for discussion purposes. Our read alouds, read alouds we do not do every day necessarily, and I'll explain why in a second. But one read aloud that we are going to start with is Count Zinzendorf, I think is how you pronounce it. And this is a really neat one. So he opened up his estate in Germany to some persecuted Christians called I think it's called Moravian Christians. And one big thing about them is that they wanted to be able to have the Bible translated into their own native languages. They thought it was important to have, you know, everybody should have the Bible in their own native language. So I thought this would be fun, especially because we're doing Europe this year. So I got that. Or I've actually had it, but we're reading it now. And then the next one, I don't have a copy of it, but I'll get it. Or we'll listen to it on Audible. Jules Verne's A Journey to the Center of the Earth. I thought that would be fun to do because that's one thing that she has not read. And I do try to kind of gear, now that she's older, I do try to kind of gear some of the read alouds to her level. And then I also have had this in the past, and I kind of let her go through it and see if there's anything interesting in here that she might be interested in. I also do read alouds, like for his geography, we'll do a lot of picture books when relevant. So like the Dallaire book, Leaf the Lucky, I'll probably do during Morning Basket because my daughter loves that book. And so even though it's kind of geared towards his geography for the day, we'll probably read it in Morning Basket. And I'll have actually quite a few, I actually do have quite a few picture books like that are either going to be for his science or history or geography. And again, I'll probably read those during Morning Basket just because even though she's 16, 11th grade, she still loves listening. So that's what we're doing for that. Okay, the next thing is Plutarch. Plutarch Lives. This is the full one. It is not, again, I'm not a purist on Charlotte Mason. I know some people will come after me. But it is, my daughter is wanting to study ancient history in college and ancient classic, like art, literature, etc., specifically to the Mediterranean era. And so I was like, we've never actually did it. We tried it before, we put it down. So I got the modernized version for her. I'm gonna let her read at least probably 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week. It just depends on how long. And again, Plutarch, you usually don't read big chunks at a time. You read a couple of pages at a time. And so we'll just see how this works with that. All right, the next thing is geography, which the way I do geography is, so I want my children to have a decent perspective of the world as a whole. We really focus on physical geography. She gets a lot of cultural and things like that in her readings in middle school and high school. He will as well as we go through it. But even reading books like this, even reading like the Christian heroes now and then, you get perspective on cultural things, etc. And so you can do that by bringing in books. But I like them knowing the continent of Europe and whereabouts everything is located. And so we do go week by week, depending. I'll have to, again, we've done this once before. I'll have to go back and see how many countries there are. So we'll usually roughly do 1 a week. I use various things for that. So like, let's say we're learning about France, then I would get this atlas out, I'll open up to France, and I will read just a little bit of information from there about that. I also use this Around the World in 180 Days because it just reminds me of things to look for within each continent. So like specific mountain ranges and rivers and things like that, because I think those are fun to kind of just throw in and show like boundaries, etc. I have loved this book so much. There's not a whole lot of it in Europe, unfortunately. There's some things in Iceland, Ireland, let's see, Norway, Germany. So I can pull it out for those 4 countries when we go over it, and it gives information like, well, this is in Africa, but it gives information about a specific like geological site usually. And so, or geological site. And so I have loved this book. We love doing it when we did South America. We love doing it when we did Asia. And unfortunately, there's not as much in Europe, but it'll still be fun to pull out when we can. On kind of a biblical Christian's perspective, we do Windows into the World. And again, I'm not sure how much Europe will be in here because they don't have every single country. So like, for instance, they don't have Ireland, but they have Iceland. And so it it'll just give facts about it. It'll give ways that we can pray for the people of Iceland, etc. It just gives, how did Christianity get brought to Iceland, all of those types of things. And so this book is amazing. I think they have, I'm pretty sure they have an updated version of it. Again, I just bought this on like eBay or Thrift Books. And so I'm not sure how much we'll get to use this book because there's not as much in Europe, but hopefully we'll get to use it some. And then we'll also use this book, Passport to World, and like this is for Norway, and so it just gives tidbits of information that are fun for us to read over. So normally I will go to, I'll go to these 3 books first, and then if I can't find it in there, I will go here to the concise atlas, and this is really more for me than for me to look at. And so it's just something fun to read about that for the day. And so I've showed you this before, but we write down the name of the country, and then I flip it over and I write down the name of the capital of that country. And in the past, I've always just had one. I think I'm going to get them to have their own because I tend sometimes to feel like I'm memorizing it more than them because I'm the one that's looking and flipping more than they are. And so I'm thinking starting going forward, I'm going to have them write it out and have them look through it with me. And we kind of play games with it. We alternate, like I'll flip through, and sometimes I'll do the countries. Sometimes I'll flip to the back and I'll do the capital, and they have to tell me the country. And usually I'll alternate with both kids, so I try to get where they don't say the same thing over and over again. And it's really helped. Like they have learned a lot. And again, I know I harp on this, but like when you hear things in the news, like you can picture where this country is located. That's kind of important in my opinion. Like it gives perspective to what region are they in, what's going on, what's the conflict, etc., etc. And so that's why we do it. That's why we like it. And then I also do map drills. We use Cetera Online, which is a fabulous way to do map drills. And so I'll just pull out, we have a Chromebook that's touchscreen, so we can pull that out and use it, or we can use, or we can go on and just use something like this because it shows all the countries in Europe. And then there's also this blank map. And so you can, point to it or whatever, and they can tell you that. So I just like doing that for drill work. I also will bring in this history of the world map by map. I just purchased this last year. I don't think I've shown y'all this in a haul, but I did purchase this from, I want to say from Ollie's. Did I get this at Ollie's? I think yes. I think I was going through town, DFW area, and I specifically stopped, and they actually had this was the last one. So I apologize. You can still find it on Amazon. I won't use this a ton, but let's say we're reading about, let's say we're reading in here and it talks about how to pray for a country, and it talks about a specific war or something. Then we could potentially find it in here. Of course, we can use this in our history curriculum as well. My daughter loves this book. She keeps it in her room because it has a lot of great maps for the early civilizations. which we can also use in Bible. And so anyways, it's a really neat book. And it's something that I was glad that we purchased for our studies. Okay, for Bible. And then I'll get to our trivia and games towards the end. Okay, so I got this book, The Character of God, the study of who God is. I've showed this in a previous video on a haul. I do not remember when I purchased this. It's from the Daily Grace Co. And yeah, it was literally it was sitting on a shelf, and I came across it and I was like, okay, well, this would be fun to do. And so it's broken up into 30 days, which we will obviously extend further than that. Because one thing I did not say already, we do morning basket at least 3 days, sometimes 4, but that's it. So it's just the characters of God. So each day it will give you scripture, it'll give you commentary, and it'll give you questions to ask. And so, yeah, I'm excited about this. I think it's really fun just to show that God does have many different characteristics. And I think it's important to know that and talk about it. Another thing that might pick up once we get through that is the names of God. And this actually includes a 6-week study guide for personal or for group, like Bible groups. And so we might pick this up and do it as well. And I got this at Mardell's. Y'all see that? So yeah, it's the name of Jesus, name of the Holy Spirit, Lord's Prayer, 10 Commandments, Trinity, fruits of the Spirit, armor of God. So just things that your kiddos probably have heard before and know, but it doesn't, it's nice just to go over again as well. We read straight from the Bible. I've done like Bible studies in the past for like younger kids and used like curriculum that they kind of, they go in and just, pick out different parts of the Bible, etc., to tell Bible stories. Well, my kids are old enough now that we're getting just into the Bible. So last year we did the Torah, which is the first five books of the Bible. We are a Torah observant, Jesus believing, loving Christian family. And we started at Genesis and ended in Deuteronomy. Like we pretty much took the whole school year to do those 5 books. We're going to continue on, like we still do stuff now every day, or 3 days a week, 4 days a week. And so we're in Joshua, and we'll just continue until we get into the prophets, which I would really love to get at least. And I might even go back and forth. Like I might do a book like Joshua, like the historical books, and then jump over to the prophets and then go back and forth that way as well. I haven't decided yet. I don't know. We'll see on that. But one of the books that I purchased is the Rose Book of Biblical Charts, Maps, and Timelines. And this, if you have not seen this is amazing. I love this. So it's a massive timeline of biblical history. Right here is, what is that? The Tabernacle. So it's the Tabernacle explained. It breaks up all of the books for you, like I just said. You have the Torah. You have historical books, the poetry, the wisdom, major prophets, minor prophets, gospels, Paul's letters, then the epistles and Revelation. It gives illustrations of things like Noah's Ark. It talks about the 12 tribes, which is really fascinating, and how all of that works out. And then it talks about how it goes over, how the Bible goes over it in describing each of the tribes. Here's a map of the Exodus, a timeline of the Exodus. So just things like that. It is a wealth of information for us visual learners who we can read it, but it sure is nice to be able to put a map to it or a picture to it. So I love this. Another thing that I've used since the beginning of homeschooling is Then and Now Bible Maps, and we still pull this out all the time. And so this might have a lot of the same ones over here. I think it might be, yeah, it's Rose Publishing as well, so it's the same publisher. It has these overlays so that is like Bible times, and then that is like now. So that'd be Bible, that'd be now. So if you have never seen this is so worth getting for your Bible studies. I love it. And then the last thing for Bible is this new Bible that I purchased called The Scriptures. And what I love about this is because we are trying to learn Hebrew in my family, and I'm going to be honest, we're not doing very good. But it does, like, God's name in Hebrew is Yah and Yahweh and Elohim, and throughout the Bible it's different. So sometimes you see like the capital Lord, and then sometimes the capital L, lowercase O-R-D and then the capital G-O-D, et cetera, et cetera. And so it does this for you in the Hebrew language. It also does some of the names, like Moshe. Instead of Moses, we read it as Moshe. And so it's just learning. It's just kind of getting our feet wet with learning Hebrew. I think it is so important that every Christian understand how to read the Bible in the original text, because so much gets lost in translation. So since I've been studying this way, it has opened my eyes to so much stuff. So I love it. And I love reading the Bible. It is, if someone says, what is your hobby? I would say, a lot of the days it's studying the Bible. And a lot of times it's going into like the Blue Letter Bible. If you don't know that, you can get an app on your phone. You can also pull it up on your computer, and you can break down each verse by using Hebrew information. And so sometimes like a word is not really the word they should use. Like the word numbers, really, it means wilderness. And so it's like, why did they use numbers when you should have used wilderness? Things like that. And so it's just something that I love doing, and my kids love listening about it, learning about it. And so that's something we do together. Back to Hebrew, I'm going to probably somehow work with this scripture and just start with the names in the beginning while we go over the Hebrew alphabet. And if you're interested, let me know, because there is I cannot think of it, of course, off the top of my head, but there is a YouTube video that I found very beneficial for learning the Hebrew alphabet, like how to say all of the different characters of the Hebrew alphabet. And so if you're interested, let me know. Okay, next thing are games. Oh, I'm so excited about this one. Okay. So I love games. My kids kind of love games. My daughter more so than my son. But again, we've gone over Europe before, and so I just thought this would be fun on some of the days instead of maybe doing geography that day. Because I have a feeling like we're going to do one day of kind of reading through stuff like out of books. One day of doing, and I don't know if I said this a while ago, on geography, we like to watch a show on YouTube called Geography Now, and he does a pretty good job of just giving of different information of the region, and of course the capital, the people, food, things like that, cultural things. And he's not biased. Like he keeps it just pretty straight laced. He's not biased and all that when you get into like Middle East and all that stuff. And so I've really enjoyed his videos. And then I thought maybe one day we could play this game, at least in the beginning. And it's called 10 Days in Europe. And the way it works is you are creating a trip, like a vacation in Europe for 10 days. You have cards that get you to different, you have cards that get you, of course all the cards are falling over. You have transportation cards. And so like if I'm trying to travel from, let's say, Italy to England, I'm going to have some type of transportation. I can't just go direct. And then you have all of these cards to make up your actual trip. I'm going to be honest, I haven't read the directions enough to know what's the point of the game. But I thought from a perspective of just learning, like, okay, you can get from Spain to France, but you can't necessarily get from Spain to Germany unless you're like fly over or like take the, a boat across or a boat around, etc. So I thought that was very interesting and a good way, again, to learn about the physical geography and the locations and all of that, because they're sitting there having to, study the map as they go, trying to put their place tiles, their country tiles down, etc., etc. So I thought that was really interesting. The object of the game, it says 10 days in Europe, players use countries and transportation tiles to chart a course across Europe. The first player to complete a 10-day journey where each day connects to the next day, is the winner. So there you go. I'm excited. So I showed this on my haul video, but whenever we're not necessarily playing the game, so like let's say we don't play a game that day for geography, then we will do a trivia at the very, very end of our family subjects time. And so this is something that we can pull out for trivia. We love Professor Noggin. And so I purchased these art cards. Explorers, which we have gone over just a handful of times, but not a lot. And so I thought this would be fun to pull back out, especially since my son's doing Explorers. And then Insects. because he is also doing insects in his science as one of the special studies. And so these are trivia games that we will do 2 days a week, and we'll just rotate through them. We'll probably maybe do this every once in a while, and then we'll start with whichever one they prefer. I'll ask them. I have a feeling my daughter's gonna want art, and so we'll go through all of these cards before we move on to explorers and then on to insects. So think of it as kind of like one a semester, and then we'll just throw this in as we go. Oh, and then last thing, just real quick, this first Hebrew primer, we will eventually get to this. I have no idea when, because I want to get a great understanding of the alphabet and how to pronounce all the alphabet, and then like some of the major names within the Bible is kind of what I'm going to focus on first, and then I'll start focusing on that after that. So hope that makes sense. Okay, the last thing is just a basket. I think this was at the bottom. This is a basket of things to keep their hands busy. So if I'm doing a read aloud or we're listening to a read aloud, sometimes they'll just sit and listen, but sometimes they want to do something. We've done Play-Doh in the past. My son told me he's too old for that now. I don't know about that. We've done blocks, Play-Doh, Legos, etc. And so I got these. We've had these forever, and they still will pick them up and kind of just mess around with them. Here is a maze ball. This is like little kid stuff, but they'll still, again, it's almost like it's just something to, in their hands to do. A little fidget thing that they'll mess with. There's some sun catchers they could paint. They could do things like this on paper. Again, just anything that's going to keep their hands busy while, that was dusty. Anything that's going to keep their hands busy while we're doing like a read aloud. So they're not going to pull this out necessarily in the very beginning. We do not pull it out during Bible. It is more when we get to the read alouds. So that is it. That is all of our family studies. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you do. I love to know what other people do for family studies, and sometimes y'all come up with some awesome stuff that I've never even thought about. So put that down in the comments below. If you have any questions, put those as well. And I hope you have a super blessed day and a blessed week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.